Alright, today I'm going to do page 15, 1, 2 to 24 even. Remember, it's part 1 of a two-part assignment from 1.2 in the book. Here's the hint sheet from the board. I just took a picture of it. Numbers, starting at number 4 through 10 is going to use Vertex Form. 14 through 20 is going to use Intercept Form. Actually, 22 we use Intercept Form as well. And 12 we use Intercept Form, or Vertex Form. Alright, so remember, find A, H, and K if it's in Vertex Form or it has one set of parentheses. So this is one set of parentheses. This is two sets of parentheses for Intercept Form. So if Vertex Form, find A, H, and K. Find the vertex. You're going to plot that with the axis of symmetry. Make an XY chart. You can use any of the XY charts we talked about in class, but with the shortcut with Vertex Form, it's putting H, K first, and then 2 more points, and then reflecting those points across the axis of symmetry. Intercept Form, you have A, P, and Q. Remember, with H, P, and Q, they're hanging out with their X, so we don't trust them. That's why we always change those signs if they're in the parentheses. So Intercept Form, you find A, P, and Q. Then you find the vertex. That's just the average of P and Q, so you do P plus Q together, then divided by 2. That's the middle of your XY chart. P and Q are your intercepts, so you just put P0, Q0, and then you're done. Number 1 says, copy and complete. A quadratic function in the form y equals a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k is in vertex form. Alright, there's one set of parentheses. That's it. Number 2, explain how to find a quadratic function's max value or minimum value when the function is in intercept form. So I think I explained this wrong in class because I thought it said vertex form. Intercept form. First, find A, P, and Q. A tells us max or min. Remember, if it's a smiley face, it's a min. If it's a frowny face, it's a max. Then, use Vertex Formula. That's P plus Q all over 2. Plug vertex into original problem. That will give you a y, and that's your value. So the best way to say it is the y value of the vertex. Alright, number 4 is y equals x plus 4 squared. I have one set of parentheses, so it's vertex form, so A is 1. H is negative 4 because I don't trust anybody hanging out with their x. K is 0 because there's nobody there. My vertex is negative 4, 0, so I go left 4 and put a dot, and then I put a dotted line through there. Alright. Now, I make my XY chart. Put negative 4, 0 up top. I'm going to get smaller, negative 3 and negative 2. I'm going to plug negative 3 in right there. So I get negative 3 plus 4 squared. I get 1 squared is 1. I'm going to plug in negative 2. So I get negative 2 plus 4 squared. I get 2 squared, which is 4. So I go negative 4, 0. Negative 3, 1. Put a dot. Negative 2, 4. Put a dot. I reflect these over. I use that dotted line. That's why I have to have that dotted line if I'm going to use 3 points on my XY chart. I have 5 points now. Remember, it's supposed to be a U. And that's it for number 4. Number 6, I have y equals 3 times the quantity x minus 7 squared minus 1. So a is 3. H is positive 7 because we changed that sign. K is negative 1 because we don't change K. My vertex is 7, negative 1. I make an XY chart. Put 7, negative 1 on my XY chart. I'm going to get smaller. Doesn't matter. You can put 7, 8, 9. I put 7, 6, 5. It does not matter. I plug it in. Y equals 3. 6 minus 7 squared minus 1. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. So I get 3 minus 1. That's 2. Now I'm going to plug in 5. So I get 3 times 5 minus 7 squared minus 1. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 1 is 11. So I go 7, negative 1. I put a dot. And then I put a dotted line. I go 6, 2, put a dot. And then I put 5, 11, put a dot. Mirror them over. It's supposed to be a nice U. I'm terrible at making that, but there you go. Close enough. That's it for 6. Alright, number 8 is y equals 2 times the quantity x plus 1 squared minus 3. I have a is 2. H is negative 1. K is negative 3. Remember, A tells me it's going to be a smiley face, so my graph's not a smiley face. I know it isn't wrong. Negative 1, negative 3 is my vertex. So I go left 1, down 3. There's my point, and put a dotted line. Make my XY chart. Put negative 1, negative 3. I'm going to put 0 and then 1. I just like getting bigger. I always get closer to 0. It doesn't really matter, though. So I plug 0 in, so I say y equals 2. Instead of x, I put 0 plus 1 squared minus 3. 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2, 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Now I plug in 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 squared is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. So I go negative 1, 3, 0, negative 1. I'm going to rainbow that one over. That's how I got that point. I'm going to go right 1, up to 5. I'm 2 blocks away, so I go 2 blocks away and put another dot. There we go. That's it for 8. Alright, so I have a equals negative 1/4. I have h equals negative 2. K equals positive 1. Remember, I know it's a frowny face because of that negative 1/4. I'm going to make my vertex is negative 2, 1. So I go left 2, up to 1, put a dot. There's my dotted line. That's my axis of symmetry. In case you're not sure, that's what the dotted line up and down means. XY chart. I put negative 2, negative 1, 0. 1, I plug in negative 1. I say y equals negative 1/4. Negative 1 plus 2 squared plus 1. I get 1 squared is 1, so I get y equals 3/4. You don't have to plug in 3/4 if you don't have to use 3/4 if you don't want to. Plug in 0, I get 2 squared is 4. I get negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Now, if you want another point, you can pick. I'm going to pick 2 because I see that the even number gives me a nice number. The next even number gives me a nice number. I think 2 is going to work if you don't want to use you don't want to use 3/4. So I say negative 1/4. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. 16 is negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So I go negative 2, 1, negative 1. If you want to use 3/4, it's right there. And then I rainbow it over, or reflect it over. 0, 0, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then I got 1, 2, down 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away. 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away. Notice it's easier to make that U the more points we have. So if you're struggling with the U, you can always add more points. Alright, that's it for 10. Alright, number 12. What is the vertex of y equals 3, x plus 2 squared minus 5? Well, a is 3. H is negative 2. Remember, they're hanging out with their x. We don't trust them. K is negative 5. So my vertex is negative 2, negative 5, which is B. And that's it for 12. Alright, this is intercept form because it's got two sets of parentheses. So, A is 1, P is -1, Q is 3. Remember we changed both sets of parentheses. Change the sign in the P and Q. So, step 1, I did that. Step 2, I have to say X equals P plus Q all over 2. Remember, if you're using a calculator, better have that in parentheses. I get -1 plus 3 all over 2. I get 2 over 2, which is 1. That's the middle of my XY chart. So when I put my XY chart there, I put 1 in the middle. I'm going to put P and Q on both my X's. So I put -1 and 3. I don't have to do any work since they're X-intercepts. I know Y0 for both of them. So the only one I have to plug in is 1. So I say Y equals 1 plus 1, 1 minus 3. I get 2 times -2, which is -4. If you want more points because you have a hard time making a U, you can pick as many more points as you want. That's all I need. -1, 0, put a dot. 3, 0, put a dot. 1, -4. Alright. That's my axis of symmetry. I just double check to make sure it looks right. It does. Remember, it's a U, not a V. There we go. That's it for 14. Alright. I get f of x equals 2 times quantity x minus 5, x minus 1. Say a is 2. X is 5. P is 5. And then Q is -1. So now I say x is P plus Q all over 2. So I say 5 plus -1 all over 2, which is 4 over 2, which is 2. So that's the middle of my XY chart. So I say XY. I have 2 in the middle. I'm going to put 5 as my P, -1 as my Q. I'm going to put 0, 0 here, and I'm going to plug in 2. So I say 2 times 2 minus 5, 2 minus 1, 2 times -3 times 1, I get -6. So I go 5, 0, -1, 0, 2, -6, and that's it for 16. Alright, g of x equals -4, x plus 3 times quantity x plus 7. A is -4, remember? That means I have an upside down U. Remember, I have to change both signs, so P is -3 and Q is -7. Step 2, I say P plus Q all over 2. So I say -3 plus -7 all over 2. Get -10 over 2, which is -5. That's my XY chart. Put -5 in the middle, -7 at the end, -3, 0, 0, and I got to plug in -5. I have -4 times -5 plus 3, -5 plus 7. I get -4 times -2 times 2, so I get positive 16. Alright, I'm going to make this go by 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I got -7, 0, put a dot, -3, 0, put a dot, and I got -5 all the way up to 16. It's an upside down U, and that makes sense. Oops. That's it. That's it for 18. Alright, 20. We have same thing, intercept form. So A is -2. That means it's an upside down U. P is +3. I got to change that sign. Q is -4 because I have to change that sign because they're both hanging out in the parentheses with X. So I say 3 plus -4 all over 2. I get -1 over 2. That's my middle point. So I'm going to have XY chart. I'm going to have 3, negative 1/2, and negative 4, 0, 0. So I only have to plug in negative 1/2. So I say negative 2, negative 1/2, minus 3, negative 1/2, plus 3. Get negative 2 times negative 3.5 times negative 3.5. All right, get it's a positive 3.5 at the end, so I end up with, when I plug in my calculator, I get 24.5. I'm going to just make these go by 3, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. So I'm going to have 3, 0. I'm going to make these go by, that's 1, every 2 is 1, so that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, it's negative, 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 and that's a negative 4. And then I'm going to go, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and that's 4. So I have a dot. I'm going to change the color a little bit, darken this up. I have a dot at 3, 0. I have a dot at negative 4, 0. I have a dot at 1/2 up to 24.5. It's right there. Right? So that's my U. Remember, it's a U, not a V. It's not very symmetrical, is it? You guys kind of do your best there. It's a little bit hard to do this on the phone screen, but that's pretty close. Let's try that again. And the reason it was not working, hopefully you saw that, is I put my dot at the wrong spot. It was not symmetrical at all, and I counted the dots. My dot is negative 1/2, so that dot should have moved from there to negative 1/2 right there. That makes more sense, because now I'm going to put my dotted line in the middle. And that's the main reason I use the dotted line, in case I make a mistake on the graph. There we go. There's a graph. That's it for 20. Alright, what is the vertex for the y equals negative x minus 6, x plus 4? So A is negative 1, P is positive 6, Q is negative 4. I do 6 plus negative 4. Remember, all that, all over 2. 6 plus negative 4 is 2. 2 over 2 is 1. So I have to plug 1 into my problem. It's like I was making an XY chart, but all I care about is 1. So I say negative 1 minus 6, 1 plus 4, I get negative 5 times 5, I get positive 25. So my vertex, I think, is 1, 25, which is A. That's it for 22. Alright, to change to standard form, all you have to do is multiply right side using FOIL or the distributive property, however you want to think of it. So x goes to x, then x goes to 3. 4 goes to x, 4 goes to 3, or first, outside, inside, last. X times x is x squared. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. And 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times 3 is 12. So y equals x squared. Remember, the x's go together, plus 7x, plus 12. That's in standard form. That's it. Like if you wanted to find a, b, and c, a is 1, b is 7, c is 12. That's it for 24. That's it for the homework.